internet access is available now, but when I was asked to prepare this presentation, I was told, we are very sorry, there is no internet available. So it was really a challenge to prepare a presentation for an online database without having internet available here. So now it is here, but as I was busy the whole day yesterday to create very beautiful screenshots of my database, you now are obliged to see these screenshots in my PowerPoint presentation. What for you as the purpose and the benefit that my presentation very likely is more structured than usual. And we can have after this PowerPoint extended bonus edition with a little access to the live database maybe. So here we go. What you can see here is a little view on your little travel tomorrow to Flossenburg. Here this is the first spot from the education center, where I don't know your program exactly, but very likely or luckily for you, you will have inside the Museums Cafe a lunch break, I don't know, which is very tasty normally. Then you can see down from this building to the SS area, here the camps gate, the former laundry building with the first exhibition about the camps history, here behind the trees former kitchen building with the second exhibition about the post-war history till today, and the most impressive building is here, this former as headquarters, where the biggest part of the administration is in. And inside this building there also was born the Memorial Archives 5 years ago. It went online in 2013, so we are now in the 5th year online database, and the server was situated in this little room behind this window until last year. And last year we migrated the whole system from this building from Flossenburg to a server farm in Nuremberg, where we now are provided with a very brilliant performance and backup system, which is much better than we had before. So it is a permanent, ongoing development. What is the Memorial Archives? It is a self-made, not by me, but we also have a company, an IT company, that is caring about us. It is not a project, that's very important. It is the permanent archive database of the Flossenburg Memorial. So there will be no end. That's one of the very important things. It is online available, but it's not publicly available, not even parts at the moment. We are thinking about doing that, maybe some parts which are legally providable for that. And it's an international database. It's available in 12 languages at the moment. Of course, not everything is translated, but the most important things of the field labels and some parts of the contents are translated in the most important languages, and it's also an ongoing process and permanent development. We have at the moment, here is a number of nearly 6,000 visits. For technical reasons, you have to reduce it. 1/3 is only visiting one page and then leaving. So this is for 1 year, from February till February last year to February this year. So these are 4,000 visits on the page, which does not mean visitors. Visitors is the blue line. These are the users from all over the world, nearly you can see. And as we have registered users, we can exactly say how many people they are. These are up to between 10 and 20 visitors a day, but every day they are coming and visiting the same visitors. So we have registered users per year, 120. So the people who are using these archives, this virtual reading room, are always the same, and these are very experts from other institutions, and nearly half of them also have the possibility of a special access which is enabling them to edit some data, not everything. There's a very detailed system of access rights, so not everybody can see everything, not everybody can access everything, and not everybody can edit anything. But many of these experts, mainly these who joined 1 month ago our first International Memorial Archives tutorial, which we held in Flossenbürg, there were 37 guests. They and some others are able and are learning to edit data. Why are we doing that? Because we believe that the quality of a system on such a research platform can only grow and increase if we add the know-how to the data. So it's not finished, it's not a system which is in one condition, but it's permanently moving and permanently changing. Also on the technical issue, it's license-free open source data based on Ubuntu, Linux, Apache, Solr, and other things which are not very interesting for you. But it costs nothing at the moment, and it's funded until now by the regulatory means of Flossenbürg Memorial, which is quite great. A few years ago it was not so easy, but now we have succeeded in creating a big consciousness about that it's necessary to fund a permanent care about such an archival data system also to be able to bring all this into the future also. So if you want to access this database, now we are in the English version, then you have to register here. Then you will get such an archive request, such an application form. You have to fill out this and to click on the send button on the bottom. Then you will get just such an email with an attachment where all your data are in an application form. And you have to print out this application form, and when we get your signature and scientific purpose or some other reason which is relevant for the access to these archives, then we will give you an access. And what you have to sign here, that is this declaration, which you also, the statement of liability, which you also will see every time you log into this database, which deals with the most important legal aspects of the data protection and the archival laws about the documents and the information about people which are in, because it's a very complex thing about going through that. So most requests we got for families and other requests for only one prisoner, we don't give the families access to the archive because it's more easy for us to answer them by ourselves. So when you are logged in, you will first see this start screen with a lot of numbers. You can see we have the topics, keywords, place names, people, which is a number which is much higher than the Flossenbürg concentration camps, due to the fact that inside, as you mentioned already, are not only the Flossenbürg prisoner files, but also from cooperating institutions, mainly to talk about the main project is the digitization of the prisoner card file of the SSWVHA, Wirtschaftsverwaltungshauptamt, where more than 30 institutions were cooperating and adding information to prisoner cards. It's a topic for its own. I will not tell you anything more about that. So there were, until now, there are up to more than 40 institutions which are somehow cooperating and providing data or some information inside these platforms. So that's the reason why there are now nearly 260,000 people. We have publications, media collections, which are mainly interviews of former prisoners. And what is a bit low number is this Flossenbürg Memorial Collection. This is the archive of our institution, and actually there are 10,000 files in or more, but as we have a very long story of producing these files and descriptions, we cannot give access to these Flossenbürg files before we went through all these descriptions of the Flossenbürg files and to check the quality about that. So that's still a huge task which are facing. What did I wanted to show you first? Yes. If you want to look for a special person, the most easy way is to click on people, and then you will get to this form sheet where there are different ways, different fields where you can look from. Here is a little information doc where you get, sorry, what's the next page? Here is a possibility to limit the results to a certain database, and I always recommend to take victims, because then you will get, victims is our interpretation database. Victims is clusters of people where all the other sources are related to. If you don't want to get a real big math of results, it's good to limit it to the victims database, because everything which is linked to one person you will find there also. And this is what I wanted to show you before. If you go to this information button, you will get information about the filter options which you can use. That's also very detailed. And relating to the following presentations, my example is also Lubija Letic, so you can compare how it looks like in the database and outside the database later. And you see you get some proposals where you can look for. If you type in special characters, then there will be a problem, but without special characters, it's not a problem at all. And then you see you have some hints on the victims database and on publications where it's mentioned. And now we go to open here by details this data set of Lubija Letic in the victims data. That it's quite long. I choose this example because there are many sources already linked to this data set, and we will scroll down. We have here a transport from 862 prisoners where he was in and came in November 15. We have a hint on the Flossenbürg concentration camp. And if we go more down, then you have here the sources, and the sources are some individual files from the ITS digital archive. You have the Flossenbürg prisoner register book. You have a documentation of the 3rd US Army about Flossenbürg concentration camp, and then when we go down more, then you have also some media collections, even two here, different media collections, 2 publications, one scientific one with 3 interviews as far as I remember, and his own biography, and you also can give comments or remarks, if every user can do that, to add something, what he thinks is wrong or what is missing. Then we get an email and we can react on these things. So in all these sources you already also can go on details. For example, just to show you a little example of a media collection, we will now click on this opening, and then you got in this video thing where you can see different types of videos, mostly interviews, and we are very happy that most of these interviews are on a good way to be also worked out with transcriptions and content things and so on. Here not, because it's not a real interview. This one is a talk from him and another survivor with some use. So the quality is not so good about the story of his life. I think we will not transcript this one. But then another example, what you can figure out is here, this prisoner register book of Flossenbürg, what actually is the most important source. Nearly every Flossenbürg prisoner has here an entry, and the documentation of the US Army and entry. These are the 2 main sources of Flossenbürg. And if you open here the details about the prisoner register book, then you can have another data set, in this case with 2 different versions of this original books, which is stored in the National Archives in Washington, D.C. And you, of course, can click on one picture, example this here, and enlarge it. to a size which fits for you, and then you can see here Letiti, it's written in another way, Letiti Lubija from Lok, and his whereabouts in Hersbruck. So it enables you a very rapid access to the documents where you can see whether the entry in the database is correct or not.
He's registered as a Hungarian, right?
He is registered, I cannot see it there now.
Nationality Serbian, but coming from Hungary.
No.
Yes, Hungarian.
The writing of the name.
Here. That's one of the problems we will face later. So another possibility, if you're looking for, not for one special person, but for Serbian prisoners, that's the topic of the presentation, is here this extended search, which offers also a geographical coordinate search. And if you are looking for Belgrade, for example, then you can type in here also some database and some search radius, and I limited again on victims here and on 250 kilometers, then you can have some hits. Here's 45 hits on the Google map, which is not the historical map, but it's better than nothing. We are also working out on improving this system with historical maps. And if you are going to one certain location, I think Niche was my example, then you will get a list of all victim datasets which are related to Niche, if somebody did this work already. So, of course, there are more victims from Niche which are not related because nobody typed in the characters in the field, or we don't know, or it's not in the source, or whatever. So, also an ongoing work in progress, but it's one possibility to see what's already done and to get very quick results. There's also a list of all these victims which are now hidden behind these dots on the map. So, more effective and more scientific is if you go to the victims database, because then you have the possibility to make a more detailed research. You see here we have again these 259,000 prisoners, and there are between all these fields 3 different fields where you can have a relation to Serbia or Serbian prisoners. We had in the discussion before this topic, again, that Serbs are outside Serbia, or the country was Yugoslavia and it's not Serbia. So if you want to check it out, you can make a search for Serbia as territory, and you will have 325 results. If you check out the nation Serbia, which means all people which somebody related to Serbia in its understanding today, then it's more than 586 people which are related to this field. And if you go to origin Serbian, then it's a bit less, 503 people. So there are also these Serbian in which are not on Serbian territory, but maybe on Austrian territory. If you want to have only Serbians which are origin, nation and territory Serbian, then you can add this in this way by adding filters, and then you will of course get less, because only all these datasets where all 3 conditions are fulfilled will appear here. If you will find everything which is related to Serbian, there's a possibility to look in any text, just a plain text search, and because of the N which we had before in this origin field, you need a white card to search, which is a star, little star in this case here. Otherwise you will not find origin Serbian, because it always matches only the full string, and then you will get the highest number of 615. And I have to admit, this is only possible in the case of Serbia. If you take another country like Frankreich, if you are looking for Fran or France, then you will have a lot of people with first name Franz, for example. So, and if there's somebody, the word Serbia appearing in last name, first name, or place of death, or whatever, then you will find somebody who is not related to Serbia, but have somewhere the string in this data set. So that's a thing which makes it a bit tricky, and we also are working out on improving other possibilities for requests. But at the moment, this is a very quick possibility to find as much results as possible. If you are interested only in Flossenbürg concentration camp prisoners, then here we have the less number of 92 and something thousand prisoner names which we are at the moment available in Flossenbürg, or some even without name, just a number. Then you can make here a research only for Yugoslavia. That's a problem we had in the discussion. And you will get the highest number of 1,339, where you have to go through and to look from which part of former Yugoslavia is he from, and is he related to my topic. So, to make it more quickly to the results for Flossenbürg concentration camp, this is what we figured out when going into all these different ways and details. And I have to tell you that we actually had not very much researches about this topic and this region. It is mainly based on the work 10 years ago from Vanja Pfeiffer from Ljubljana, which was researching for Slovenian prisoners, and he went through the whole list of Yugoslavian prisoners and Italian prisoners, and I think some very rare are Serbs, or also Slovakian prisoners, because Slovakian and Slovenian prisoners have the same abbreviation in most sources, and some Hungarian prisoners she also checked up. So, and if she could find a place of birth, or maybe some place of living, then she could figure out whether it was a Slovenian, Croatian, Serbian, Bosnian or Montenegro people. So, and we also had in preparation of our permanent exhibition Silvia Kaučić, who worked out on this topic. And for a few years we had a staff member which was family related to Croatia. We also made some improvements about spelling and characters and such things. So that is for us a quite difficult topic, and one of the most important sources to go on with this are the effect cards from ITS, where the location, sometimes the location of relatives is mentioned, and then we can, with this address, we can go on and improve the results. So you can see the former Yugoslavia are nearly 2,000 prisoners. We have today from Slovenia 1,500, from Croatia more than 600, from Serbia 257. So 15 from Bosnia and Herzegovina and 4 from Montenegro. And if you make this request, this query, as mentioned before, with origination and not and, but or territory, then you will get a higher number. Instead of 257, 303 prisoners. Looks very exactly, but can change if somebody locates the place of birth in another part of former Yugoslavia. And just for a very quick statistical thing, these 300 prisoners are registered between November 41 and April 45. Nearly all are political protective custody. They are mostly delivered directly by Gestapo to Flossenbürg. Only 60 of them came by other concentration camps. 2/3 are men, 1/3 are women. From the women, many are in Dresden Universelle subcamp, coming from Ravensbrück or being already there when Universelle was put under administration from Flossenbürg. The year of birth is from 1875 to 1929. There are 36 Jewish prisoners, between 58 civil workers, but this number for sure must be higher. It's just not mentioned in the sources. CA, civil workers, Zivilarbeiter, and around two-thirds of these Serbs were also in subcamps, or only in subcamps, or in Flossenbürg and subcamps, but there's a hint on a subcamp. 42 died, and 23 of them died in the Flossenbürg main camp. So that's nearly the end of the PowerPoint presentation, and then I can show you some little additional thing live here. Okay. And what did I wanted to show you here?
I don't know.
I forgot what I wanted to show you. Maybe maybe just about the transports. We also have some transports in here. And what would be the a little hint on the next presentation, because many of these many of the Boer people are related to Flossenbürg and to Hersbruck subcamp, and we had some severe difficulties to figure out what is related to this, and because they went not directly from Boer to Flossenbürg. There were more than 3,000 people who started in Boer in one march, and many of them died. And what we have is a transport list from Gestapo Budapest, and we could figure out that it's this one. The train started in Zurndorf, which is in Austrian Burgenland, where you can have more than 2,400 people listed in this reconstruction of the transport. And the problem we had to face there is that in Zurndorf, obviously, some people were mixed. So there are in this transport not only people who came from Boer, but also other Hungarian people. So it is not clear if somebody in this list is from Boer or not. But
They are all from Boer.
you think they are all from Boer? So we have one survivor who says he is not from Boer. And he is also somewhere in this list as far as I remember. I think this Lagos was it? So anyway, that's in short what I wanted to show you. Oops, we are here. And we are reaching my presentation. Thank you very much.